that's a beautiful thing to be a part of, to be a filmmaker, to be able to express that and then allow people from all different parts of the world, I mean, I'm gonna just take this opportunity and give, Spike his flowers, for me, because it was
young blood.
Yes. You know what I mean?
Excuse me. It's just a butter thing.
Hello and welcome everybody for our second annual Hollywood Reporter Roundtable here at the Red Sea International Film Festival. We're here in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, with 6 wonderful filmmakers who have taken time out to talk to us a little bit about their career and their work. They're all game changers, they're all innovators, they're all trailblazers. And I want to start with the gentleman on my left, this year's jury president at the Red Sea Film Festival, a man who needs no introduction, the one, the only, Spike Lee. Thank you, Spike, for being here.
Thank you.
Nice to have you.
Thank everyone here at the table.
Next to him, we have Hala Elkoussy from Egypt. She's an artist and filmmaker. She's here with a movie called East of Noon. It's a very experimental film, very surrealist, very challenging. Talks about youth and yearning for freedom and many other things. If you haven't seen it, it's something that touches you a lot. Next to her, we have RT, over here from Canada. Thank you for coming all the way as well. He's a multi-hyphenate. He can do it all. He can write, produce, direct. He's done music videos. He's doing features now. His film screening here at the Red Sea Festival is called 40 Acres. It's set in a utopian future, so to speak. And it's full of drama, full of emotion, and it has the wonderful Meshal Al Jaser in it as well. Then I want to go over here, Lawrence Valin. He's here from France. His parents are originally from Sri Lanka, and he's really an actor and a director. And if you have not seen his film, Little Jaffna, that's here in the program, he's actually the lead actor and the director. It's about a policeman who has to go undercover to infiltrate a Tamil gang, and a lot of drama, a lot of emotional stuff happens, plus action. It's like a mix of a lot of things. Hopefully we can talk about it a little bit more as well. Next to him, I want to welcome Sarah Friedland. She's here from the US.
Where in the US?
Brooklyn, New York.
And which part of Brooklyn?
Town.
Which part of Brooklyn?
South Brooklyn.
Nice. Well, we have the New York connection here.
Brooklyn's in the house.
Sarah is a choreographer, has worked with dance videos, and she is her first narrative feature film here. It's called Familiar Touch. It's about a woman who gets checked into a managed living home, assisted living home by her son. And we hopefully get to talk about that as well. And then last, but definitely not least, we have here with us Meshal Al Jaser. He's the Saudi homegrown up-and-comer. He had a wonderful movie here at the Red Sea Film Festival last year called Naga. If you have not seen it, I hear it's still on Netflix, right? They're very happy with that. And it's the story, if you like stories of young women who go to secret parties in the desert and then need to rush home to make curfew, but get chased by a crazy camel. That's definitely one for you. Thank you, Meshal, for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Before we talk about all your backgrounds, I wanted to ask you, Spike, I saw you on the opening night on the red carpet say hello to Michael Douglas, and there were all these other people who wanted to take selfies with you. But I know you're not here to just socialize with people you already know. Tell us a little bit about why it was important for you to come here to Saudi Arabia and to the Red Sea Film Festival, be the jury president.
I was surprised. I mean, it's something I was expecting. So when I got the call, I said, for sure. I love cinema. I love, especially world cinema. And this gives me opportunity to see films that I probably never had seen. So we're halfway through, and a lot of surprises, and there's talent all over the world, not just in Hollywood.
See, that's wonderful to say. It's one of the newer countries that's starting to make a lot of films, Saudi Arabia. Meshal, I wanted to ask you, a few years ago, the country started opening up to filmmakers. and the box office has been on the rise. There's been a lot of young creative talent trying to make films. You started with short videos that here ended up on YouTube and then moved into features. Talk a little bit about how the opening up has kind of helped you move from the shorter to the longer form content.
You know, before cinema wasn't really accessible, so we were just trying to express ourselves in whatever medium is possible. And now that it's open, you know, it means that it's being embraced and taken seriously as a vital part of the culture and the economic system. And, you know, the government is doing so much to show support and take the industry in a serious manner in terms of, you know, grants to cash rebates to opening big studios like studios in Al-Ula and big time studios, and it's being really done fast and exceptional time.
Now for the rest of you, I don't know who's been here before, who's new to the country, and do you guys come here to just have another audience where you can show your movie? Do you come here and think, oh, maybe I could shoot something here eventually? What's kind of the exciting part as a creative?
This is my third. First time was Malcolm X.
Oh yeah, there's a scene in that was produced.
We were the first ever allowed to bring a camera into Mecca during Hajj. So I hired not being a Muslim, I hired a Muslim crew, and a couple of years ago we showed Malcolm X. He'd never been shown here. So this is the third time.
Nice. How about you?
No, that's my first time in Saudi.
Okay.
I probably, let's say, I didn't imagine a future that would include me being in Saudi Arabia in a film festival. So let's
Why
say,
is that?
because it was not forthcoming. Let's put it this way. It's it's a surprise to the whole of the Arab world somehow, and also the world. So we're witnessing a big change here.
Yeah, no, it's definitely my first time over here, and yeah, it was a beautiful opportunity to come and, as Spike said, just like see films from voices that you've never heard from before, see culture in a way that we've never heard before, coming from a Western country like this, and then also I'm a human. I love to travel. I love to meet people and experience their culture. So understand that and learn, and then have a chance to share my voice and share what my story is, and expose them to our side too. So yeah.
Anything you guys want to add?
He tell everything. I can just say the same. Now for me it was like it seems like it's the beginning of something here, and people it's not used to go to the cinema. And in France you have cinema everywhere, and at that time I realized that we are privileged there. Like, okay, it's normal for us, but for those people, it's like, okay, it's a beginning. And I was like, wow, how they are reacting in the theater rooms. And one little boy surprised me because, his phone ringing, he take his phone and he was speaking. And I was like, what's... at that time I said, okay, he didn't have still the used to, okay, they are like learning to, and it's normal because it's just a thing culture. And I was like, don't be that French guy. Oh, what are you doing here? And I was like, no, just and that's the thing. It's good because it's like you're traveling, other culture, other thing, and you are just experienced other experience of cultural experience. I don't know if it's clear. Sorry.
Yeah.
But,
No, that's that's like going to like a back home. It's like there's cinemas in Scarborough. You go to Scarborough late night cinema and people be yelling at the screens, you know what I mean? And like, that's just a different type of culture to see how it is. So yeah, it's beautiful. I look forward to that.
Yeah, I just landed 3 hours ago. So I'm there. I'm looking forward to seeing what it's like to
You just got here, huh?
I just got here. Yeah, I mean, I'd heard beautiful things about Kalim's programming, and that's part of what drew me here. But also for me, because my film centers on aging and the experience of a woman who's aging, the greatest privilege of the festival circuit has been talking to people about their experience of elder care in different countries. And I've yet to share the film in the Middle East. So I'm really excited to talk to people about their experiences of aging here, what sort of care infrastructure exists, how do people sort of relate to our character, even if she's very specifically an American woman. So yeah, can't wait.
Maybe you guys can talk about your latest films. Some of you have them here. Meshal, you can maybe talk a little bit about Naga or any new project you want to talk about. I'm curious. People sometimes say, I think earlier this year, somebody said to me, "Oh, I love myself a Spike Lee film," because to my friend.
Yeah, who's that?
Oh, I'll give you his number. And my friend Iber, he says, "Oh, I'll watch a Spike Lee film." There's certain brand values. You go, "Oh, I know I get something that I will enjoy. Maybe it speaks to me. It's a voice that I like." And so I wanted to ask a little bit about cinematic voice and whether you guys think you have a very particular cinematic voice or not, or if there's anything that's important in your latest film that you say, this shows who I am particularly strongly.
As you said, I come from a background of visual arts, and coming to cinema felt like something urgent that I needed to do, because after a certain, let's say, level, like attaining a certain level of success as a visual artist, it felt to me like I wanted to reach out to audiences, specifically in the Arab world. The visual arts are very elitist in this part of the world. Their dissemination, their consumption, their interpretation, it's all very limited. And so I had to revise my position, thinking like, why did I come to visual arts? I came to visual arts because I, let's say, had a vision to share with others, and now it feels like I'm sharing it in museums and biennials abroad. So what is it that I can do, because I still have many other things that I want to say, to reach out to my people, specifically, initially, And then I thought, okay, cinema does not need a mediator, in the sense that films, at least in Egypt, end up eventually on the pirated on the internet, and everybody can watch. And it's actually something that I kind of feel is good, because they go everywhere, and then they live, and they have different lives. But I wanted to bring my own voice as a visual artist to films. Egypt is a country with a very long history of filmmaking. But I wanted to make films as the visual artist that I am, because in the end, it's not. I did not start from zero. And in my visual art, I'm concerned with the idea that we have all this very, very long history of like a cultural history that deserves to be
Egypt, right?
Yes.
Okay.
To be tapped into for not just inspiration, but for visual language. I mean, when I first started making art, I was likened to Western philosophers and thinkers and writers. This is what the Europeans needed to place my work. They had to relate me to Foucault, or they had to relate me to Godard, and I continuously continue to insist that I'm bringing my references from a local source and bringing them to this moment in time. So it's not like I'm not making folklore. I'm actually revisiting these let's say, terms of visual language, the vocabulary of my visual language, to bring them to audiences everywhere, so that eventually they will join in the international way of interpreting or seeing, you see? Because we deserve to be there, and we learn the visual language of others, and it is important that somehow this is how we appreciate each other, by having a presence that is our own.
I feel that film is that medium. Film and music, those, to me, in terms of the art forms, are the most accessible. They're inclusive, I think, inherently. You don't have to even understand the language of a song. You catch the vibe of the song. You feel it emotionally. And this is very much the same thing, I think, in film.
Yes.
There's this opportunity in film to reach almost anybody, and for you to be swept up in that. And I think what you said, there's a humanity, I think, to film, that it draws you in and gives you an experience with certain person's life or certain culture, and you get to live that. And that's a beautiful thing to be a part of, to be a filmmaker, to be able to express that and then allow people from all different parts of the world, you know, I mean, I'm gonna just take this opportunity and give, you know, Spike his flowers, you know, for me because it was
Young blood.
yes, you know what I mean.
Excuse me. It's just a butter thing. A butter thing.
But you know, like when I was 16, I saw Do the Right Thing. I didn't get to see it in the theater, but I saw it on VHS, so I'm still aging myself. Immediately I saw that film, I rewound it and watched it again immediately, you know, and it was the first film.
What, the Ice Cube scene you kept rewinding?
I remember the whole film, you know.
Yeah, all right.
But
Leave that alone.
to say though, it was like, you know, it was the first film that clicked for me as a young man to see that, you know, especially movies that you get when you watch movies in North America, you see a lot of entertainment, and it was entertaining, but it also spoke to me on an emotional level. It taught me things. It brought me to realizations, and that film can do that, can open a mind up while still entertaining, making you laugh, making you angry, making you cry. It can do all those things, and you can walk away from it thinking for days, you know, and so that was the first film that did that for me as well, you know, so it's a beautiful thing to be a film. I guess I'm just saying, it's a beautiful thing to be a filmmaker.
It's incredible. I think I will always say the same thing. But in a way, you know, the thing is, Do the Right Thing make me the same thing. But in another way, the thing is, you're a Black American, and it's a way that you have models. After you watch this film, you say, okay, we can do these things.
Well, I'll say, like, I'm Black Canadian, so, you know, and we do have, and our cultures are very similar, but Spike's film showed me something. You're right. As an example, I said, wow, you can do something like that.
He creates a path,
yes.
You know? For me, when I started as an actor, there wasn't any parts. You know, I was like looking Denzel Washington. I was like, okay, I want to do, but he's a Black American,
yes.
and I was like a French Tamil man, and I have no models, nothing.
Yes.
And you have to create the path.
Yes.
And when Little Jaffna, I always said, and it was the joke when they proposed me to do the roundtable with Spike. It was like, I tell everyone, Little Jaffna is the Do the Right Thing Tamil version in French, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's the thing. Little Jaffna.
Lion.
Right?
And
You know what? He said he never saw Do the Right Thing.
who?
Cassavetes.
La M. All right.
He said he never saw Do the Right Thing.
Man,
What the fuck? He said he never saw Do the Right Thing.
man, I saw Do the Right Thing.
I'm not you. I'm talking about him.
I don't
Not
know
you.
him, so- But the thing is, for us, it was like, okay, I have to create new representation, because when you don't have any representation, it is very difficult
So true.
to think that I can direct, I can act. And the thing is, for me, it's like just new. I just did this debut film. It's like for every person, Tamil community in France, it's like they were like, okay, we are doing something new and we don't know. And it's just the beginning. And it's
How'd you get your film made?
I get in the classical way. I've done all the studies in La Femis, and before I was an actor, I get all the cliches role, that the Indian guy, the Indian best friend, the fakir, all the stuff. And even I started to speak English with an accent, which, you know, and,
Wow.
and to, you know,
Let me hear you in your New York accent.
in French, you want to? I speak in French? No.
You just said you practice a
Indian
accent.
accent? No, I can speak like this, and if you want, but I don't want to, you know. I can. And the thing is, at one point I said, okay, I have to go to the other side, start writing, telling stories that not without any cliche and represent my community.
Yeah.
And in a way, you know, in Little Jaffna, there is very political stuff. And when I started searching films that seem like, okay, in an entertainment way, and in the same time, there is a very important message in it. For me, Do the Right Thing was the perfect film to say, okay, I want to do like this, but here in France and in this community.
Yeah.
Meshal, I'm curious, because last year I remember I walked the halls of the market, the souk,
Yeah.
and Netflix had this booth with pictures of your film Naga there. and I looked at them, and I remember that there were young kids walking by who were probably local, or at least from the region, and they said, oh, they were pointing at them, and I thought they must be thinking, oh, look, one of our guys did this, maybe we can get a movie out there. Did you ever think about wanting to open the path for creatives in the region, or at least in Saudi Arabia?
I mean, I just have a humble experience. I just started, the industry just started, so there's definitely a sense of privilege, but also responsibility and pressure to be part of this generation of filmmakers, because, you know, your typical, I would say, filmmaker journey, he comes in a sustainable industry, and it's an individual journey for success. And for us, I think it's more of teamwork. It's a collective, because it's not your own. It's not just it's not an individual mission where I should just get the awards and not care. I have to be part of, making sure that it's also a sustainable industry. It's both, it's a high responsibility, but also really empowering and exciting.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Sarah?
Yeah, in terms of the films that I make, as you said, I'm coming from a background making dance films, but the dance films that I've been making aren't sort of from a lineage of stylized dance, but rather
Where'd you go to school?
I went to Brown.
Brown? Ivy League.
Yeah, so my films sort of look at social choreographies, that is sort of the movement of everyday life. And I think now moving into narrative work, I feel like my work is to sort of encode through movement types of stories that have previously been told through language. So this film that I've made, it's a character study, but it's really a character study that's sort of told through the physical perspective of our character. And that's what I really want to keep making, is films that really have this like language of the body in a choreographic, kind of told through choreographic patterns.
You notice the first few minutes, no word is said, and I'm sitting there going, what's happening here? Who is this? What's going on? Wait, is this a documentary or is this fiction? You immediately, I lean forward. It makes me think, oh, there's a good reaction, right? Because at some point I'm thinking, what am I doing? Okay, and then things slowly emerge. But I thought, oh yeah, this is how it would happen if you actually just looked into somebody's window and go, you don't have to explain what the guy outside is wondering about. The guy outside needs to figure out what's happening here. So
Words are overrated.
I agree.
Words are overrated. Okay.
We learn more about people through their gestures, their body language, these little interactions than I think we often do through dialogue. Yeah. And that's to me the cinematic language that I'm really drawn towards.
RT and Lawrence both have music in the films as well. I think at Lawrence, you have some people dancing, moving quite a bit, and RT, you have one of the characters, putting on some music, and then talk a little bit about how you guys think about music, because we're talking about words. How important is music and movement to you, since Sarah brought it up?
Yeah, maybe I start like that.
Sure.
Then I was going to say, absolutely.
No, for me, music, I grew up with not Bollywood, but Hollywood industry. Because when I was little, when I look French film, the hero wasn't my color skin. And I was like, okay, I want to be like Alain Delon or Jean-Paul Belmondo, but it's not the same color. I was like, okay, maybe, but... And the thing is, I grew up with Hollywood. Hollywood's like Bollywood, but there is political stuff and music. Every dance, everything. And I grew up with always keeping with the music. And the music, it's like, a way for me to bring emotion that don't have to have, in the same level of what you're looking in the image. It's not have to be in the same, if it's sad, we have to put sadness.
Right.
I'm in another way. If it's very happy, I will put another thing to create another emotion. For an example, we are in the church and there is a procession scene with all the community, and people started to put a classical Christian sound, like, okay, we are in the church. And I put like a rap metallic sound, and I was like, yeah, that's good, because it was like, I never seen that before. And emotionally, it's keep me going another way. And that's the thing. It's like, people, when they look the film, they say there is a lot of brown people, and they say, okay, it's a Bollywood. And I always said, no, it's a French film. The thing is, I take influence of Hollywood film and I mix it with the French style film. And I think the music is very important. I have to listen to it. You know, normally, as some director in France, we say, we don't want to hear just it's calm and it's, and I always say to my compositor, I want to hear everything.
What I would say is I started my career directing in music videos. That was my way into, you know, it's almost like being a filmmaker was a little too big an idea for me at the beginning. And I loved music and I loved being around, you know, artists and hip hop artists, and I would film them and go backstage and convince them to, you know, to let me do videos for them and stuff like that. So I always loved that aspect. I think that's just being a young person. Like, you know, when you're young and you have access to music, the music speaks to you in a way that you can't express. It becomes your language. And so, you know, it had to be, it's a part of my life and it's a part of all of my expression. So it has to play a major part in my film. And, you know, in my film, one of the things that I had not seen was a Black experience in this kind of a dystopian world. You know, really, truthfully, what would that be? Oftentimes when if we do see, you know, we're just getting to see Black experiences in the future. Like, we weren't really represented back then. We were always maybe some background player in Star Trek, you know, walking along the halls or something. But like now we're getting to see some. And for me, you know, we take a dystopian narrative about a family, you know, on a farm. Normally when you see Black people on farms in Western thing, we're slaves, you know what I'm saying? But for me, I wanted to do, this is a family that is not only surviving in the future, but they're thriving in the future. And what is their experience going to be like? And it's also a Black and Indigenous family. So it's, again, you don't see that experience usually. So I wanted to see that. And what is the experience of a dystopian future for these people? It's going to be one that is culturally informed. So music is so important to our cultures. I have a young teenage boy. You know, we have a pivotal scene in the movie. I don't want to spoil it, but, you know, where he's listening to something and everybody's had that moment where you're listening and you're watching somebody and someone is dancing. There's a young woman dancing and he's transfixed in this moment, you know? And so I wanted to capture those moments of being a young person and experiencing that through music, even though it's in this horrible, dark, dystopian world, you know what I mean? I feel like those are all things that come from a personal experience, and I wanted it to be in the film. So that's how it worked its way into my film.
Well, it seems it's not a coincidence I'm seated next to you. So my protagonist is a young man, teenager, older teenager. My film is a dystopia, but not in the future. Mm-hmm. And he rebels through making music. Yeah. When I had to think about how this young person could express the fact that he wants change, the first answer was that he's definitely an artist, but what kind of artist? And then it became obvious that it has to be music, because music has this thing about it. You cannot stop music. You couldn't stop music in communist East Germany, going to West Germany and creating this whole scene. You couldn't stop music in Iran. So I kind of followed suit. But at the same time, since he had to be innovating through music, I couldn't have him adopt the established ways of making music that we have now. Yes. He had to kind of create something that was not, that does not exist, and to kind of create this distance between him and the establishment. So we kind of built him instruments from in this dystopian world. Like the work on the music started when we had the first version of the script, because it took 5 years that we were working with a composer and the sound designer. We first built the instruments, and that was the only thing that I told the composer is that whatever sound you're going to make for this young man, it cannot come from an instrument that we know, because I'm going to assign the established instruments to authority. You know, they would become the voice of authority, and then this young man has to have something completely different. So we first had to build the instruments, then we had to tune the instruments because they had to be, music had to be written for these instruments, could not just be noise. Then he composed for the instruments, we recorded them, and then when we cast the actor, he had to practice playing these instruments. And
What is instruments called? You have a name for it?
no, I mean, he kind of referenced them to already existing instruments, but they were made from junk. Huh?
Wow.
It's not. And then we had to create this whole wall behind him for how he could in an analog way sample his music, because otherwise it would not be inclusive for young people today if they could not imagine that these young people could sample music. But he was playing with flip-flops and tubes from what's called sewers, plastic tubes and jerry cans and all sorts of stuff. So I feel I'm seated in the right place.
I feel you. You know what's even more interesting is that my composer, Todor Kabakov from Canada, he did something very similar to what you're talking about for our score.
Yeah.
For our score, he didn't want to use established instruments.
Yeah.
He went out and recorded bark on trees breaking and old steel drums, and he made the percussion and the sounds of our score from those recordings. So it's
my protagonist does this in the film.
Yes.
Like he samples the sounds of this dystopic environment in which he lives, and then he puts it into his music.
I wonder if my composer saw your film.
No, but but when you have one person doing something and then a second person doing something, then you feel it's good.
The same. Yeah.
So we kind of music is important. We said words are overrated. So then we're coming up with some kind of direction, or not direction, but a feeling that this world is kind of looking for something else, or at least that's how it feels.
So Spike was also taking notes. He was paying close attention. Spike, are you thinking about using some input from the music side? How do you usually approach thinking about music?
Well, first of all, my late father is a great jazz bassist, folk bassist. He worked with Bob Dylan, Judy Collins, Aretha Franklin, and a whole bunch of people. So I grew up in a musical household. Come out of film school, he did the scores for She's Gonna Have It, School Days, Do the Right Thing, Mo Better Blues. I grew up in a music household. I've always, even as a kid, understood how music could work to help tell a story. This new film has a lot of music in it too. Also, we're in post-production now. It's with Denzel Washington.
Can you talk about it?
I'm getting there. Your blood. It's not a remake, but a reinterpretation of the great Akira Kurosawa's film High and Low. And we're in post-production, and it's the 5th film with Denzel. My brother just saw him in Gladiator 2, he's killing it. In order, Mo Better Blues, Malcolm X, He Got Game, Inside Man, and this new one is called Highest to Lowest. And until someone mentioned to me, Inside Man was 18 years ago. So that's a long gap. But, it was like we seen each other yesterday. He's amazing. And it's just Denzel, that guy. He is just so. I've just been very blessed with working with him. So just keep it going. Dynamic duo. We call him D. So dynamic duo is D and Lee.
What other art forms that you have not actually worked in do you appreciate? Is there anything where you say, I never talk about this so much, but there's some art form that I enjoy, or maybe it's some other hobby?
I think for me, in terms of screenwriting, I get really inspired by other forms of writing performance. So movement scores, other types of sort of experimental script writing, different types of notational systems really interest me. And so often when writing scripts, I don't write them first in a screenplay format, but I'll write out kind of maps or diagrams. So I think performance artists who work in these sort of notational systems really fascinate me.
being involved in music videos, younger, just like, you know, dance is such a pivotal part of expressing yourself when there is music and even when there isn't music. And so, and I feel, I don't know, there's something about movement and rhythm that I think works its way into almost everything that we do as filmmakers. Like you don't know what it is, but you feel it in a scene. You feel the movement of a scene. It's kind of hard to explain it, but you know it when you're watching it, you know, and when you're crafting it, you understand that. There's an inherent kind of rhythm. So a dance is very, I don't know, you know, life is a dance, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't go to film school, but I did study choreography, and I almost think everyone who wants to be a filmmaker should study choreography because it's like the blocking is so much exactly what you're talking about. I mean,
but I collaborated with the choreographer on my first film, even though there was no dance, because I felt like some scenes you really want to distill the movement in order to kind of get to the meaning. You know, you wanna remove all the extra stuff that does not take you where you want to go. And in this film, I collaborate with a choreographer. There is some dance, but I also collaborate on scenes that don't have dance, where I feel that I just wanted to kind of, distill is what I want to say. Just as much as you edit out words that are not necessary, then sometimes with movements, you also need to do that.
Lawrence, I remember there's some scenes in your film as well that, you know, where movement is very important and you know, acrobatic and dance things. Like how did you have a choreographer come in for that, or how did you?
I think Tamil people, it's natural. We didn't have choreographer. We just put the sound, and it's no. For serious, I think that. For me, you're talking about choreographer and dance. For me, it's the dress, and it's very important for me. I think when I grew up very from a, how to say, not rich family, and I think when I go outside, I need to have a kind of dress that build me like, okay, I have some prestigious. And when I come to the film making, as an actor, when you put some clothes, you put it and you come into the role. It gives you something special. When you put another dress, you have another way of looking, way of standing. And when I've done the film for Little Jaffna, I was like, every young boys in the hoods, they are like dressed black, gray, and blue dark. And they don't want to put color. And I was like, okay, we're going to put color on you. And you say, yeah, but you know, people will look us ridiculous. I said, no, people I want you to look very cool. And for me, it's like, and even I start again speaking, do the writing. When I look and it's so, the shoes, everything, I was like, wow.
You mean the Jordans?
Yeah. The thing is, and I don't put Jordans because I say, everyone say, you do like Spike Lee. And I say, okay, I put other stuff. And you will. But the thing is, for me, it's very important because that gives a unique way of creating something that when they put the dress, they were like, hey, it feels cool. Okay, we can be like that. And that is the thing that transforms you in another way. And for me, that was the thing that I can control and put, and after I let that be. I don't have many, I think, choreographer to dance or not, but this is my way of building stuff before, and after I let it leave.
Nice. Meshal, in Naga, I feel there's a lot of movement, or it feels like there's a lot of, you know, movement in it. Did you do this mostly through editing, cutting? Did you have like a movement choreographer? Because, you know, there's the camel chasing, and I remember thinking afterwards, wow, I'm exhausted from watching this. And I thought, I don't know how he did this, but I felt like I needed a drink and a rest after watching that film.
I did. I know. I'm sorry about that, but I never had a choreographer. No. I think I tend to just hire the person, like Mr. Spike Lee. I started with acting in the beginning, and I tend to like to hire non-actors. You know, people that usually have no interest in cinema, and that becomes very challenging, especially with elder Saudi men and women. Acting with them, because they always, they will be shy, and my goal is to really create a comfortable environment for them to express something genuine, to capture their raw essence. And I think with an actual actor, he's always looking for the authenticity, looking for something real, so he can give us the illusion that he's actually the real deal, he's the character. But with a non-actor, you already have that. You already have the authenticity and the substance and everything, and you just have to make sure they don't
name them in their lines though.
Yeah, you have to make sure they don't look at the camera too. That's it, you know?
There's more of those two things.
Yeah, of course. But I would say one of the most difficult things to have like someone in his 60s, his 80s interested in cinema from Saudi that he's performing. There are probably a handful of people that want to do that, and you end up with the mom being the mom in every show, in every TV show, in every movie.
So you have to be creative. You have to attract more actors.
Right. You have to hunt them down.
I understand totally, because in France it's the same thing. Tamil people think it's a hobby. It's not a real work. And when I go there, I say, yeah, we're going to shoot. Can I take your daughter or your son to the film? They are like looking at me and they're like, no, why? I want a real work. And I say, it's a real work, believe me. But it's very hard because, it's like you have to work with non-professional actors to create that, because we don't have anyone before. And that's the thing. And in that point, I feel connected.
Yeah, exactly. Because they really care about privacy the most. And cinema is the total opposite. You're like, I want you to come into this thing that you're not interested in and be vulnerable. And so it's a challenge to hunt them down and just like convince them to do whatever you want them to do.
That combo of professional actors and non-professional actors can be so exciting.
Exactly.
Like on my film, our lead actor is Kathleen Chalfant. She's like a legend of the New York stage. Yeah. But then we shot in a real retirement community. So then everybody, other than the 5 main roles, everyone were real older adults and caregivers. Wow. And then our actors basically ended up sort of being in residence in this care facility. And then the exchange, my favorite is the exchange between the professional actors and non-professional.
They always have something to add.
Yeah, and the actors learn from the non-professionals, exactly. The non-professionals learn from the actors, and that synergy is my favorite.
Yeah, me too.
That's great. Now, I want to ask, I hear so much passion and so much, like how we talked about how this is a profession, not just a hobby. If, God forbid, you guys couldn't make films, what job would you guys love to do?
I did so many jobs over the years, so many different things. And
what have you done, for example?
No, I mean, as a visual artist, I kind of don't see that anything that I do is above, during Corona when I kind of was locked down, then I was gardening, and then gardening became, it became crazy about gardening. But to answer the question, so I don't, and I make my own costumes and I do my own production design. And I've always done that for the last 20 years. Wow. I get co-editing credit for my films. I mean, basically, I started out doing everything myself, and then as I kind of got more means,
you sort of let go a little bit.
Yeah, I was filming also myself, basically. So I would be on like my first short film. It was just 3 people. This is the crew, and then 100 extras. I love extras. I mean, exactly. We were talking about because extras, at least in Egypt, sit between these 2 worlds. Of professionals and non-professionals, because most of them are not doing this all the time. They cannot rely on just this, but they love being in front of the camera. But they don't necessarily have the skills to kind of progress and become a speaking character. But it's a whole. So it was 3 people, me and 2 assistants, and 100 extras, and that was fun. But to answer this question very briefly, if I would have to not do what I'm doing in another life, I would just definitely appreciate not having a boss.
I mean, the last 3 months are the first time where I'm filmmaking as my full-time job. I've had day jobs. And I mean, honestly, I would continue doing some of those day jobs. I love them. I think the 2 that I've loved most and that led to making Familiar Touch is I worked as a caregiver for New York City artists with dementia for about 4 years. And then that led to being a teaching artist and teaching in retirement communities and in older adult centers. And I love intergenerational relationships. So I think I would probably go back to caregiving and teaching work, although I'm continuing to teach. But if I really had to go far outside of our field, I'd be an archaeologist.
Ooh, okay.
Interesting.
I think the digging, the material culture.
I have a much shallow answer.
Go for it.
I wanted to be a soccer player, and I think I speak for every Arab man when I say it's always the A plan to become a soccer player. Whatever other path you take, it's always a B plan. So I still
What's
fantasize
the team
about
in
it.
Saudi? Is it the local Benzema team or is it the Ronaldo team that?
It's actually none. It's Al Hilal.
Ah, okay. They did. Then Neymar team.
The name of
Oh, you
we know.
I'm interested in you say that. Like, how is it in Saudi culture? Like, would the parents be very supportive of you trying to be a soccer player?
No, I mean, I honestly, I wasn't that. I wasn't that.
That's what I'm saying. You know,
They're a double leg.
It's definitely too late. It's that.
Yeah.
But it's just they just don't want you to be, injured and then it's done. That's usually the excuse.
Right.
And
Right.
then when I did filmmaking, since they didn't know it was a real career, I just kind of faded into it.
What do they want? What would they prefer you to be? What's the
Your typical,
Job?
obvious job.
Yeah.
Like
doctor, lawyer,
yeah.
engineer. that kind of,
something that with a clear purpose.
Yes. Yeah. Very similar. Very
They
similar.
want to
like,
save you
yeah.
from existential anxiety.
Exactly.
Because that's what I always say. It's like, if I were a doctor, I would never question why I'm here.
Yeah.
But then I'm still questioning why I'm here.
Yeah. For me, I don't know. I couldn't.
Would you have a boss?
Oh no, I can't.
Okay, we can work by exclusion.
I mean, my whole career has just been the hustle, the entire career. With music videos, it started just chasing people down and convincing them you can do something. So I've been that type of a hustle for my whole thing. So I don't know how to work in that under a boss, let's say. But yeah, I would say I'll put a twist on the question and say, because my film is a dystopian film, so in the future there ain't no need for directors. When the world is collapsing.
So
But,
AI is going to be directing people now?
Yeah.
well, I mean,
I hope not.
I'm just saying that, I think I quite enjoy, working with, young people and trying to inspire them. And I did a lot of that in my earlier in my career. So, and I think there's part of being a storyteller involved with being a teacher, and speaking about, whether it be our history or just telling stories that inspire. So I think I'd, like to be somebody that teaches, yeah.
And already know Lawrence's answer. It's the same, right?
Man,
You and me, bro.
no, man. No, the thing is, when you ask the question, I clearly don't know. Because when I entered as an actor, I was so focused to be an actor, and that's it. And when I knew that in France I cannot do that, I was like, what I can do? And I've been a director by, I didn't have any choice, because I know that there is no director in France give me the chance, I will give it by myself. And that's where I started to work. And for me, I always said I didn't have any other plan in my head. When people say, yeah, but if that doesn't work, director or actor, what you going to do? And I say, no, I want just do that, and I don't have nothing. And for me, I cannot say. And when you say teacher, in the same way, for me, it's like when I bring all those young adults in my film, the youngsters that in my film, I was like, okay, teaching them how to maybe an actor, a theater professor, maybe it's how to create actors and to say, yeah, this is possible. And for me, that is very important because if you are not 100% on it, I think in this industry, and if you are not son of or your background, it's very difficult. You have to be like focused. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know. And when he started speaking, I said, okay, I say the same thing.
But we already, I taught photography before at university level, and I guess it feels like it's, there's a lot in common with the people who in this group.
Well, Spike, years of teaching,
Yes.
you know.
I'm a tenured professor at NYU Graduate Film School where I went, this is my 30th year. Ang Lee and I were classmates. But really, I don't really answer hypothetical questions, you know, like what if, if this is happening, I'm doing what I love. So I don't really have to, for me personally, well, this didn't happen or this didn't happen, but I think for me, stuff's happened for a reason. You know, family background, and so I'm just blessed I'm doing what I love. And the majority of people on this earth go to jobs they hate their whole life. So when you can make a living doing what you love, you won.
Well, I'm glad we could hear from all of you guys, at the wonderful creative work you all put out there. I hope people watch it and go, oh, see, there's wonderful, positive, creative things to do in this world, not just destructive things. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.